I just found out my wife secretly sold our family home for $350, $0, and split the proceeds with her affair partner, then manipulated me into signing a prenup that hands over everything. Now she's planning to take me to court for half of our assets. But I never suspected she'd turn our marriage into a legal battlefield over millions in inheritance and property, all while pretending to be the perfect wife. It all started with a gut feeling I couldn't shake. You know that feeling when something just feels off, even if you don't have concrete proof? That was me. My wife, Emily, had always been a bit of a drama queen, but lately she'd been acting more distant, secretive. Small things, her phone always hidden, late nights pretending to work, and her being unusually defensive whenever I asked about her whereabouts. I brushed it off at first, convincing myself she was just stressed or had some work thing going on. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. One evening, I decided to do a little digging. Nothing malicious, just a quick check of her phone, her emails, her social media. I wasn't expecting to find what I did. There were messages, flirty and intimate, with some guy named Jake. They'd been talking for months. Not just innocent chats, but explicit talk, plans to meet up, and a lot of talk about how she was tired of pretending to be the perfect wife. She told me she loved me, that she was committed, but her phone told a different story. I couldn't believe it. I felt a cold wave of betrayal wash over me. I confronted her the next day. I remember standing in the kitchen, my hands trembling, my voice barely steady as I asked her about the messages. She immediately started spinning her web of lies. "It's nothing," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're overreacting. Jake is just a friend. You're paranoid as usual." She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like she thought she was smarter than everyone else. But I wasn't buying it. I knew there was more. I pushed her harder, asking if she'd been cheating, if she'd been lying all along. That's when she snapped, started crying fake tears, and told me I was crazy, that I was paranoid, that I was ruining everything. But I wasn't just angry, I was devastated. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray me like this? We had built a life together, or so I thought. I felt sick, like I'd been punched in the stomach. All those years, all those promises, and it was all a lie. I couldn't sleep that night, replaying her words, her sneaking around, the secret trips, the hidden messages. I started questioning everything. Was our entire marriage just a lie? Was I blind? Did I ever really know her? My mind raced through the possibilities, every scenario worse than the last. Over the next few days, I started digging deeper. I found bank statements, hidden accounts, secret transfers. Turns out Emily had secretly sold our family home for $350, $0, and she split the money with Jake. I was stunned. She'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. She manipulated me into signing a prenup that handed over everything. Our assets, the inheritance I was supposed to get someday, even my savings. She'd been playing me all along, pretending to be the perfect wife while secretly planning her escape. I was furious. How could she do this? How could she turn our marriage into a legal battlefield over millions, all while acting like she was the victim? I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. The betrayal cut deep. I'd trusted her, loved her, and she'd been lying to my face the entire time. I started seeing her in a new light, bitchy, manipulative, cold. She's always been good at lying, at pretending to be the victim, but now I saw her true colors. She's planning to take me to court for half of everything, claiming I was supposed to share the inheritance, that I was somehow entitled to her secret earnings. She's trying to manipulate the legal system, all while maintaining her innocent act. I realized I was dealing with someone who will do anything to get what she wants, even if it destroys everything we had. I felt betrayed, angry, and helpless all at once. I've never felt so lost. I don't know how to move forward when the woman I loved turns out to be this manipulative, selfish person. I'm stuck in a nightmare, wondering how I got here. How did I miss all the signs? How did I let her get away with this? I'm trying to figure out my next move, but right now I'm just overwhelmed. I don't even know if I want to stay married or fight back. All I know is everything has changed, and I'm left picking up the pieces of a life I thought I knew. After discovering everything, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My mind was racing, trying to process the shock of her betrayal, her secret affair, the sale of the house, the way she manipulated me into signing that prenup. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirking at me, lying through her teeth. The worst part was knowing she'd been living a double life, pretending to be this perfect, loving wife while secretly planning her escape with Jake's money. I knew I had to confront her again, face her one more time and get some kind of answers. I arranged to meet her in our living room, trying to keep my voice steady, although inside I was boiling with rage and hurt. When she walked in, looking all innocent, I felt like I was talking to someone else entirely. Her eyes darted around, trying to gauge my mood, but I wasn't going to let her off the hook that easily. "Emily," I started, my voice low but firm, "I found out everything. About the house, about Jake, about the money. I know you lied to me, manipulated me into signing that prenup, and you've been cheating on me for months. How could you do this? How could you lie and betray me like this?" She looked at me with that bitchy, defiant expression she always wore when she knew she had the upper hand. "Look, I don't know what you're talking about," she said, brushing her hair back. "You're just paranoid. I love you. I was just having a little fun. It doesn't mean anything." Her voice was dripping with false innocence, and I wanted to scream at her. That's when I saw the flicker of guilt behind her eyes just for a second. But then she snapped back into her usual act, trying to make me feel like I was crazy. I pressed harder. "Don't lie to me, Emily. I saw the messages, the bank statements. You sold our house for $350, $0, and you split the money with Jake. You lied about everything. And the prenup, you tricked me into signing. It's so you could take everything I had, including my inheritance. How could you turn our marriage into a legal battlefield over millions? How could you be so selfish?" She crossed her arms, rolling her eyes. "You're overreacting. I didn't sell the house alone. It was a joint decision. And Jake, he's just a guy I met at work. Nothing serious. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I love you, but I can't keep pretending everything's perfect when you're so paranoid all the time." That was the moment I realized I was dealing with someone who was completely manipulative. She mastered the art of lying, of twisting everything to her advantage. I felt disgusted with her, myself, for trusting her so blindly. I wanted to believe she was innocent, that she was just a victim of some misunderstanding, but deep down I knew better. She'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. I left the room that night feeling hollow. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone who would do anything to get what she wanted. My mind kept circling back to the money, how she'd taken our home, split the proceeds with Jake, and now was trying to claim her share of everything else. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How could I have missed all these signs? How did I let her manipulate me into signing that prenup? It was like I'd been played from the start. Over the next few days, I started gathering evidence. I knew I had to be careful. I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I was dealing with someone who was willing to destroy me financially, emotionally, and legally. I found more bank statements, hidden accounts, and even a few texts from her that confirmed she'd been planning her escape for a long time. I saw her buying new clothes, expensive jewelry, even setting up meetings with lawyers. It was all there, all laid out in black and white. I realized I had to act fast. If she was planning to take everything, I needed to protect myself. I contacted a lawyer, someone who specialized in asset protection and divorce law. I wanted to understand my rights, how much of her scheme I could undo, and how to stop her from draining what's left of our assets. It was a brutal, eye-opening experience, learning how easy it is for someone to manipulate the legal system when they're willing to lie and cheat. Part of me still couldn't believe she was capable of this. Emily was always bitchy, yes, but I never thought she'd turn into this cold, calculating person. It hurt to realize she'd been pretending for so long, that all her sweetness was just a mask. Now, I felt like I was left with nothing but the ruins of a marriage I thought was perfect. And the worst part, I still loved her, even after everything, which made the betrayal even harder to accept. I kept asking myself if I should fight or walk away. Part of me wanted to believe we could somehow fix this, that maybe, just maybe, she'd come clean and we could try to rebuild. But another part, more angry and bitter, knew that trust was shattered. I was starting to see her as a stranger, someone who'd lie, cheat, and manipulate to get her way. Honestly, I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I had to protect myself from her legal and financial games. I was tired, hurt, and angry, but I also knew I couldn't let her ruin me without a fight. After hearing a lawyer and digging into her financial moves, I realized just how deep Emily's deception went. She'd been planning this for months, selling the house behind my back, splitting the cash with Jake, and setting up a legal structure to maximize her take. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so trusting. The woman I'd loved, the woman I thought was my partner, was now exposed as a master manipulator, and I was left with the mess she'd made. I remember sitting in my office, staring at the piles of documents, trying to piece everything together. The more I looked, the more I saw how she'd twisted the situation. She convinced me to sign that prenup, claiming it was for my protection, but in reality, it was a tool for her to take everything I'd worked for: our inheritance, our savings, the house, everything. I felt sick thinking about how she'd lied to me, played me for months, all while acting like the perfect wife in front of everyone else. She'd always been bitchy and manipulative, but this was next level. My mind kept circling around one thing: how do I stop her? How do I prevent her from walking away with everything? I knew I had to act fast. I started gathering evidence: screenshots of her messages, bank statements, proof of the house sale, and her plans to sue me for half of everything. I also discovered that she'd been secretly funneling money into accounts I didn't even know existed. She'd been setting up her escape route, and I was furious. I felt like I'd been played from the very beginning. I decided to confront her again, but this time I was prepared. I arranged a meeting at our house, wanting to catch her off guard. When she arrived, she looked smug, like she thought she'd already won. I laid everything out on the table: proof of her affair, the sale of the house, the secret accounts, the prenup she'd manipulated me into signing. Her face twisted into a bitchy sneer, and she started denying everything, acting like I was crazy. "You're overreacting," she snapped. "You're just jealous. Jake and I are just friends. You're making a big deal out of nothing." I lost it then. I told her she was full of shit, that I knew everything, and that I wasn't going to let her walk away with my life's work. I told her I'd fight her in court if I had to, and that I'd do everything I could to get back what she'd stolen. Her eyes flashed with anger, but she kept trying to spin her lies, pretending she was the victim. It was like talking to someone who'd lost all sense of reality. Her bitchy attitude, her manipulative smile, it all made me sick. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words, her lies, the way she'd sneered at me. I felt a mixture of rage, sadness, and helplessness. How could she do this? How could she turn our marriage into a legal battle over millions? I thought about everything we'd shared: our wedding, our vacations, the quiet nights at home, and how she'd been secretly planning her escape the whole time. The betrayal cut deep, and I realized I'd been naive to think she was truly committed. She'd been planning her exit, and I'd been too blind to see it. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I couldn't let her get away with this. I decided to fight fire with fire. I contacted a forensic accountant to help trace her financial moves, and I started preparing for a legal battle. I also reached out to a real estate lawyer to find out how I could recover the house or its value. I knew she'd try to claim her share of everything: inheritances, assets, even my personal savings, so I wanted to be ready. I also started talking to friends and family, quietly gathering support. I didn't want anyone to think I was crazy, but I needed allies in this fight. Throughout all this, I kept feeling the same overwhelming sense of betrayal. Emily had always been bitchy and manipulative, but I never thought she'd stoop this low. She lied, cheated, and sold our home, all while pretending to be the loving wife. The hardest part was realizing I'd loved her, trusted her, and she'd been using me all along. It's a harsh lesson: trust no one blindly, especially not someone who's willing to lie and cheat their way to what they want. Now I'm in the middle of a legal war, trying to protect what's left of my life. I know she's planning to take me to court for half of everything, claiming I'm entitled to her earnings and inheritance. But I'm not going down without a fight. I've got the evidence, the law on my side, and a new resolve to stand my ground. I've learned the hard way that some people are just selfish, manipulative, and willing to destroy everything for their own gain. The heartbreak is real, but I refuse to let her win. Not without a fight. The legal battle is draining, and honestly, I never thought I'd be in this situation. I always thought marriage was about trust and honesty, but Emily proved me wrong. She's got her lawyers, her plans, and she's trying to spin everything in her favor. She's been relentless, playing the victim, crying in court, claiming I'm the one trying to steal from her. She's good at lying, that much is clear. Her bitchy attitude comes out even more when she feels threatened. She's manipulative as hell, and it's infuriating. I spent days in meetings with my lawyer trying to piece together all her moves. She sold the house without telling me, and somehow she managed to hide the proceeds in accounts I didn't even know existed. She's trying to claim that I was supposed to share the inheritance, even though I have a legal right to that money. That's when I realized how much she's willing to twist everything. She's claiming that I'm the one who's been manipulative, that I'm trying to take her money and assets. The audacity. Meanwhile, she's still pretending to be the perfect wife in front of her friends and family, acting like I'm the villain. I see her bitchy smirk when she thinks no one's watching. She's trying to manipulate everyone around her, making herself look innocent while scheming behind the scenes. I can't stand her lying, her fake tears, her constant denial. It's like she's playing a game and I'm just a pawn she's trying to move around. I've learned that she's been planning this for a long time. She bought expensive jewelry, set up secret accounts, and even started looking at lawyers months ago. Every move she makes is calculated. She's trying to drain my resources to leave me with nothing. But I'm not going down that easily. I've hired forensic accountants to trace her money, and I've been working with my lawyer to prepare for the worst. I know she'll try to push me into a corner, but I'm determined to fight for what's mine. The emotional toll is heavy. I feel betrayed, humiliated, and angry every day. How could she do this? How could she turn our marriage into a legal war over money and assets? I keep asking myself if I should just walk away, accept that she's a manipulative bitch and start over. But part of me refuses to give her the satisfaction. I want her to pay for what she's done. I want her to realize that her lies and schemes won't get her everything she wants. In the middle of all this chaos, I've also been reflecting on the kind of person Emily really is. She's always been bitchy, quick to anger, and manipulative when she doesn't get her way. I never saw her as someone capable of this level of deception. I thought I knew her, but I was wrong. She's a master at pretending to be innocent, but behind that mask, she's cold and calculating. It's a hard lesson, but I've learned that trusting blindly is a mistake. Every day feels like a battle, and I wake up wondering if this nightmare will ever end. I've had moments of despair, questioning whether I can come out of this whole, but I also know I have to stay strong for myself, for whatever is left of my dignity. I've realized that fighting for what's right isn't just about money, it's about standing up to someone who tried to destroy me from the inside out. I've been betrayed so deeply that I don't even recognize the person I was before this all happened. The hardest part is seeing her continue to act like everything's fine, like she's the victim. She's got that bitchy smirk, the fake tears, the innocent act. But I see through her now. I know her game and I refuse to let her win. I've got my evidence, my lawyer, and a growing sense of resolve. I won't let her take everything I've worked for. I won't let her manipulate the system to her advantage. This fight is far from over and I'm ready for it. The question is, how much more can I take before I break? The months since I uncovered her schemes have been a whirlwind of court dates, lawyer meetings, and sleepless nights. Emily's relentless in her efforts, trying to paint me as the bad guy, claiming I've been manipulative and controlling. She's good at playing the victim, always crying, acting like she's the one being wronged. But I see her for what she is now, a bitchy, manipulative woman who's willing to destroy everything we built for her own gain. She's pushing hard to claim half of everything, our house, my inheritance, savings, even my personal possessions. Her lawyers argue that I should hand over everything, that I'm trying to hide assets, that she deserves her fair share. But I've fought back with everything I have. I've presented evidence showing she sold the house behind my back, split the proceeds with Jake, and set up accounts to hide her earnings. I've also hired a forensic accountant to trace every penny she's moved. It's a brutal process, but I know I can't let her get away with this. Meanwhile, Emily continues to act like the perfect wife in front of her friends and family, pretending to be innocent and wronged. She's got that bitchy smirk, that condescending tone whenever she talks about me. She's tried to turn everyone against me, claiming I'm the one who's been controlling and manipulative all along. I catch her lying constantly, twisting facts, trying to make herself look like the victim. It's exhausting, and honestly, it's infuriating to see her manipulate everyone so easily. I've come to realize that her entire persona is a facade. Her bitchy attitude, her lies. She's built a shield around herself to cover up her greed and selfishness. She's always been quick to anger, quick to blame others, but now I see her for what she truly is. A woman capable of betrayal, manipulation, and deceit. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I refuse to be the fool she thinks I am. Throughout this process, I've learned some hard lessons. Trust no one blindly, especially not someone who's willing to lie, cheat, and sell your home behind your back. I've learned that people will do anything to get what they want, even if it means destroying your life. I've also learned that fighting back requires patience, resilience, and a clear head. Giving in or giving up isn't an option anymore. I have to stay focused, gather my evidence, and keep pushing forward. The emotional toll is still heavy. I feel betrayed, humiliated, and angry every day. I wake up wondering how I was so blind, how I didn't see the warning signs. I ask myself if I should just walk away, accept that she's a manipulative bitch and start over. But deep down, I know I can't let her win. I want her to pay for what she's done. I want her to understand that her lies and schemes won't get her everything she wants, that I won't be her victim. I've also started to rebuild myself mentally. I know I need to be strong, not just for this fight, but for the future. I've realized that I have to protect what's left of my dignity and integrity. I've learned that standing up for myself is the only way to end this nightmare. It's not about revenge anymore, it's about justice. I want her to realize that her manipulative games won't succeed and that she can't just walk away with my life's work. The most frustrating thing is her continued act of innocence, that bitchy smirk she wears when she thinks no one's watching. She's still pretending to be the victim, still lying through her teeth. But I see her now. I see her for what she is, a manipulative, selfish woman who's willing to destroy everything to get her way. And I refuse to let her do that. I've got my evidence, my lawyer, and a new resolve to fight for what's rightfully mine. This isn't over yet. I know she's planning to push harder to try and take everything she can, but I've learned that I have strength I didn't know I had. I've learned that some people are just greedy, manipulative, and willing to do anything for money. And I've learned that I have to stay vigilant, because the battle isn't just about assets. It's about protecting myself from her lies and her bitchy manipulations. I don't know how much longer I can keep fighting, but I do know this: I won't give up. Not without a fight. The final stretch has been the hardest. After everything I uncovered, her selling the house, splitting the money with Jake, manipulating the prenup, and trying to claim half of everything, I thought I'd reach a breaking point. But somehow I found a reserve of strength I didn't know I had. The legal process dragged on, and Emily's bitchy, manipulative tactics only intensified. She played the victim in court, cried fake tears, and tried to turn everyone against me, but I stayed firm. My evidence was solid, and I had the law on my side. In the end, the court didn't side entirely with her. The judge saw through her lies, her scheme to drain my assets, and her blatant betrayal. I was awarded a significant portion of the proceeds from the house sale, and the prenup was upheld, meaning she couldn't claim everything. I managed to recover some of what she'd taken, but the scars remain. The betrayal ran deeper than I ever thought possible, and I felt the sting of her bitchy, manipulative personality more than ever. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this nightmare. I learned that trust is fragile, and sometimes the person you love most can turn out to be the greatest liar. I learned that some women, like Emily, are masters at manipulation, turning their charm into a weapon. And I learned that fighting for yourself, even when it feels like the world is against you, is the only way to survive betrayal like this. Now I'm rebuilding my life. I've sold the house, cut ties with Emily, and started fresh. I still feel the pain of her betrayal. Those wounds don't heal overnight, but I'm stronger now. I've become more cautious, more aware of the signs of manipulation and deceit. I don't trust blindly anymore. I've also learned to value myself, to stand up for what's right, and to never let anyone manipulate me again. To anyone out there going through something similar, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags, no matter how convincing the lie. Protect yourself legally and financially, because some people will do anything to get what they want. And most importantly, don't be afraid to fight for what's yours. Betrayal can feel overwhelming, but resilience and clarity will get you through. In the end, I've come out of this a different person, wiser, more cautious, but also more determined. Betrayal hurts like hell, but it also teaches you who you are when everything else is falling apart. I hope my story serves as a warning and a reminder. Never let anyone take you for granted, and always be ready to stand your ground. Because, in the end, your integrity and your future are worth fighting for.